What's going on, guys? This is Qazi. Welcome to another epic video. Today I'm gonna show you how to recreate looks from Marvel, DC Comics, and Disney. And also we're gonna learn what are the differences, what are the characteristics for each universe, if you will. Now, to challenge myself, I picked one shot to create 3 completely different looks, and to top it all off, it's in Rec 709. So one of those things that you guys have been asking for. So here we're gonna deconstruct the Rec 709 baked in look, and then we're gonna create our own looks on top of it. So notebook is required for this one, and get super pumped because I'm gonna be creating these looks by using less than 5 nodes. If you're a beginner filmmaker who wants to make their work stand out, color grading is one of the most effective ways to do that. If you're coming from Premiere Pro or Final Cut 10, then looking at a node-based software like Resolve will just confuse the heck out of you. In this free training, you're not only gonna learn everything about nodes, you will also learn to build the perfect node tree regardless of the project that you're working on. I will end the session with an extended Q&A. These questions came from you guys. Click the link in the description to sign up for this free training. And guys, if you're enjoying the content, please go ahead, smash that like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, and let's roll the intro. All right, let's get this party started. First thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring in our reference for the Marvel movie, which is the Avengers, and let's analyze it really quick. So what do we see inherently in the Marvel movies is this crazy blue that they use. And there is a sense of natural feel to their looks, but they're still highly stylized. And just look at the scopes, right? Like look at where everything is sitting. And then there's just a little bit of contrast with these lights, that neutral colors that are coming in on this side, or these white lights right there. Other than that, there's this kind of theme that carries over. Even if there's not a blue light shooting, you know what I'm talking about. It's mostly, it looks like this. So look at the parade, and that's what we usually see with Marvel. Now let's move on to the next one. Here's our Disney, or A Force Awakens, in this case, Star Wars. And what we see when you look at the scopes is that it's a pretty natural looking image. If the sun is coming through and it's later in the day, you'll get these sort of colors. Not to mention that it's kind of muted, but it's not ridiculously over the top. I mean, think of the show Mandalorian on Disney Plus. Similar feel, right? It almost feels natural, but then it has like a hint of that film look that they have created on top of it, but it's not overly stylized like Marvel or DC. Now let's move to DC Comics. And again, what you see here is that this green bias and then red being down here creates that cyan. So when you see these two, that's what creates that cyan. And then like they usually have like a dominant color. So in this case, like they're really focusing on the red. But keep your eyes right here. That's the real sauce between Marvel and DC Comics. Marvel is usually on the blue side. DC Comics is usually on the teal side, teal and orange, that kind of thing that they got going on. So now that we have the generic characteristics kind of dialed in of each look, next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go on IMDb and show you something really quick. So what do we have access to for free with DaVinci Resolve? We have access to these film print emulation LUTs. So this film print or printed film format, meaning that when it was played in the theater, it was printed on this particular film stock, if you will. So they use the Fuji 3523, which is a contrastier version of what's available in DaVinci Resolve, which is Fuji 3513. So they're pretty much exactly the same, but this one is contrastier. Now, if we move on to our Star Wars, what we see is that they use the Kodak 2383, which is available as a film print emulation in DaVinci Resolve. Then when we move on to Justice League, which would be our DC Comics, what we see is that it was also printed on Kodak 2383. Again, it's available in DaVinci Resolve. So now these little technical things out of the way, what we can do is now let's analyze our shot and see what's happening. So as you can see on the scopes, it is Rec 709 and it's, you know, flattening out on the top and the bottom. So there's not much room for us to play with. And that's why it's a good challenge and good exercise for you guys to see how to attack something like that and then create such distinct looks. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go under my settings and I'm going to show you how I have my project set up. So under color management, I have it set to DaVinci YRGB color managed, and then it's set to SDR Rec 709. Okay. That way we're kind of forcing it to be in this color space. And now when I come out, all I have to do is I'm going to build out my node tree and it's going to be pretty simple. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. Our first node is going to be temp and tint. Our second node is going to be our primaries. Then we're just going to have one for HSL curves if we need to do anything. And then here we're going to do a CST or a film scan conversion. And then here we're going to have our FPE film print emulation. So let's start off by creating our Marvel look. So let's go into our LUTs, go under film looks. Again, this is available with DaVinci Resolve for free, so you don't have to pay anything. And if I click on this guy, we can read what it says right here. So remember, the Avengers used 3523. Here we're using 3513, which is a less contrastier version of the same LUT. Now I'm going to use the middle one because these are usually balanced, and then D55 is going to be on the warmer side and D65 is going to be on the cooler side. So usually it's not bad to start off with right in the middle and then kind of just go from there. So as soon as I drop this off, I'm going to come out of here. See how crushed it is? Everything is just gone. You know, this is a terrible, terrible thing to do, especially to a Rec 709 image. So in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to my color space transform. I'm going to drop that on here. And under my output gamma, I'm going to change that to Cineon film conversion, and it opens it up and it brings it back to normal. And now all we're left with is the actual film print emulation, actual film print conversion. So it's giving us that film look. If anybody has any questions on how to work this, what does that mean, drop a comment below. I will do a separate video about that, okay? Here, our focus is to create these three distinct looks and in the easiest way possible or the fastest way possible. Now, what do we have to do? So let me bring up my image. And to be honest with you, we don't have to do much. And that's why I said it's the easiest and the fastest way to create these looks, because once you use the right film print emulation and once you put in some work and do your research to figure out what you need to do, it genuinely can be this simple to be in the ballpark. We're matching to the point where even if you look at this rust, like this neutral tones that they have over there to our girl's skin, even that is matching down to the T. So genuinely, we're pretty much done with this look. Even the little bit of green that's kind of seeping in right here, we can see that, like those kind of tones right here. So we'll see them right here. And I'm not joking. Now, one thing that we will be doing is that since we're working with, if I just bypass everything, since we're working with such a crushed, baked look, we're not going to be focusing on actually creating the contrast of our images. So we're not going for one-to-one match. We're going for a color palette. I'm trying to get you in the color palette world. I'm also trying to show you a mature approach to creating looks, which is why we had to do some research to figure out what we're trying to do. So when you think about people working on movies and long form projects, they're not creating 100 nodes per shot and reinventing the wheel from scratch. They're actually taking these routes to keep the entire pipeline very streamlined and just breeze through their entire project. So keep that in mind, okay? So we started from here, we ended up here, big difference, okay? Big difference. And if I, again, go and do this, let's open this up. And if we go back and forth, look how close we are, okay? So, I mean, with this one, I'm not even joking. We're pretty much done. So I'm going to go ahead, add this version. So we're done with the Marvel look. We did a pretty good job doing our research and then just like getting all the settings right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to reset that. Why am I resetting that? Remember, for the other two movies, film print was 2383, Kodak 2383. So let's go back into our LUTs and now let's look at 2383. And once again, we're going to use the middle one because it's more balanced. And as soon as I drop that off, it's a bit contrastier than the Fuji film print emulation. And we have to do a little bit of work because if I go into my, let's create this one first because this is closer to Marvel and then we're going to create Disney last. So if we look at the two, there's a pretty big difference, right? I mean, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and flip this guy over here and I'm going to pan him somewhere around here so we see all the tonalities when we're working on this image to kind of get the colors in, dial in right. So first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to go under my temp and tint. I'm going to move into this kind of world. And even when I get somewhere around here, we're looking pretty good. I mean, if you look at this to that, we're looking pretty good. But let's warm it up a little bit more because I'm trying to get this warmth in here, right? So like, see, I'm trying to get this right there. And now we're getting it. So if I do before and after, we're getting these tones kind of in there, right? This to that, we're in that world. And now what do we have to do? I can take my tint. Honestly, we're pretty close. But I can take my tint and kind of add a bit more green just to kind of dramatize it a little bit more. I can push it too far and then bring it back. And if I keep it somewhere around here, my girl's skin is looking really good. Overall, the image is looking pretty solid. So what I can do at that point is I can go ahead in sizing and just reset this and then do a full flush and then go back and forth. And once again, if I do before completely, look at the difference. And then if I turn on the quick little moves that we made and go back and forth, you can see how fast we were able to capture the essence of this look. And look how drastically this look is different than the Marvel look that we created and how fast we created that. You see what I'm saying? And that's the whole point of it. Easiest way to get these looks. Now, let's add a new version. And I'm going to go ahead and reset this. And this is going to be by far the most technical or difficult look to create just because we are going from a baked look into creating something like this. So what are some of the things that I got to keep in mind? First thing that I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to kind of pull this over there to see a little bit of our image. I'm going to pan it so we have bulk of the picture to what's going on. And then let's move this over a little bit. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start off with adding a little bit of warmth and then taking my tint and just cooling it off a little bit, not too much. So even something like that. And now right away, I want to do this. I want to go under my HSL curves. I'm going to go under my curves and I want to take my cyan and I want to pull it down. I'm pulling out the saturation and I'm going to go under my blue. I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm like really taking out the saturation out of these colors. And now we're getting somewhere, right? To be honest with you, majority of the, if you think of Mandalorian or if you think of like Star Wars movies, more than this look, they have really clean look. So in all honesty, I would be so happy with this look. So, and that's what I told you. I'm not going for 100% one-to-one match, to be honest with you. So personally, I'm really liking this look. And if I think of Star Wars, or even if we go here and we open up, say, Shot Deck, and we type in Star Wars, right? And let's see. So let's go to Rogue One. And if we look at some of these images, especially when they are inside, like some of that stuff or this, you can see that they're more clean like this than say that. So keep that in mind when we're creating these looks. But let's just say if we want to stay honest and if we want to go in that direction, then I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to go under my luminance versus sat, and I'm going to take my highlights and I'm going to pull some of the saturation out. All right, not too much. I'm going to pull some of the saturation out. I'm going to keep it somewhere around here. And now what I'm going to do in my temp is I'm going to warm it up a little bit. So I'm going to kind of take it in this direction. And then I'm going to take my magenta or my tint and just add a little bit of magenta. And once again, the name of the game is that I don't want to add too much color. I'm going to go back in my HSL under luminance versus sat, and I'm going to take my highlights and I'm going to keep bringing them down to keep them pretty clean. Now, at this point, if you're just thinking that, hey, this is way too clean and cool compared to what's happening here, you can take your gamma and just start running it here and then go up to kind of add that warmth in your image, right? So like now if we look at it, like we're getting a little bit of that in, but now our image is not looking as good as it should because there's just way too much saturation. So once again, we're going to go there. And this time we're just going to take our image here and pull this down until we kind of get in a place where it's looking somewhat similar, right? It's not too far off. And now if I look at my image and if I look at these two, and like I said, we're never going for the one-to-one match. We just wanted to capture the essence of each look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo that. I'm going to come out of there. And if I just do a full swipe and we look at just the feel of this, right? Like obviously the lighting is completely different here. The contrast is a lot softer compared to how our girl is lit. And again, it was baked. There's only so much we can do. So keeping those things in mind, I will leave this here, okay? And this is what we created for our Star Wars like kind of clean look. And if I were to click right here, okay, and I'm going to get rid of this. I mean, just look at the three completely different looks. I'm going to click on this that we were able to create so fast and how easy it really was to kind of dial these in. And I'm talking about from a baked look, Rec 709 clip, we converted it into a film print emulation in a non-destructive way. And then we created these different looks. So we got our Marvel right here. We got our DC Comics right here. We got our Disney right here. And I got to be honest, not a huge fan of Marvel personally. I've always leaned toward the teal and orange. I'm just a sucker for it. But I also think that this Disney look is so clean and I love the Mandalorian look. And I feel like there's something cool about it. So you guys tell me in the comment section below which one is your favorite. But let's do this. I'm going to come out of here. And then we're just going to start off. Let's go from the top. So let's kill everything here. I went ahead and dropped the proper LUT that we needed, film print emulation to create this. And then I did a conversion and boom, we were pretty much right on the money. We were done. Then let's move on to the next one. Let's kill everything. And we created our DC Comics look. So we dropped on the 2383 Kodak film print emulation. And then we did a proper conversion. And just by a simple temp and tint, we were able to dial in our colors in the most natural way possible. Okay, the black points are there, the white points are proper, so all our anchors are on the mark. Like, look at the skin tones. And then we went to our last look, which I gave you a quick disclaimer that this is going to be a bit more challenging. We started with our 2383 proper conversion. Then we went and did our temp and tint. And we pushed it quite a bit. We even did some gamma work here. And then we went into our HSL curves and had to do some jiggery pokery to like really dial everything in to get this Disney look, this specific frame. But we wanted to capture the essence more than the one-to-one. So now let's check out the final looks in full screen.
Feel the vibe getting crazy, wavy. Flip the switch on the time machine.
Personally, these are my favorite type of videos because there's so many how-tos all over the internet. You can learn it in school. But when it comes to developing that eye and becoming a tastemaker, I think that's the key. That's the differentiator. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure you check out the free training. Trust me, you genuinely need to understand how to build a proper node tree and what each node does. All of that is covered in the training. Link is down below. It's absolutely free. And guys, on that note, please go ahead, smash that like button, subscribe to my channel for more awesomeness, and I will see you guys in the next video.